abilities. Loads of jiu-jitsu, no weightlifting.
What platform is this?
This is a Instagram.
On the gram.
Thoughts on Greg Doucette saying he wants to fight you? I don't think Greg Doucette said that.
What?
I can't imagine.
Can someone link us that video?
That's not. He's joking. Like,
you don't know. I'd fight Greg Doucette.
Oh my god, I'd fight Greg shit all day. Not even out of malice, like, but that'd be a great YouTube video.
That'd be a phenomenal YouTube video. Oh, Evan Lee. Evan Lee is always the first back, isn't he?
He's on the ball. Sorry. To everyone, we'll get to the other questions on the old live stream. We'll just give people a chance. I'm very sorry. That was entirely my fault. I knew that was an issue.
I don't know why you touched it. I don't know why you did it.
Look, when someone someone says sorry for doing something, you don't rub it in. Because then we'll bring up the fact that you did it the first time. You know?
Yeah, the first time we didn't even know it was an issue.
Yeah. Of course, you'd make it an issue then. Yeah.
Robbie, we're actually running off two live streams out to our Instagram as well. Robbie says what sizing's on the pants. So the sizing is on the website. There's a sizing chart for the inseam. It's standard European sizing in terms of the widths and thicknesses, and the inseam, so the length of the leg. That size is on the website. There's a sizing chart there. Somebody just crashed into a truck outside. Okay.
Do you have the old question? I'll get the old questions.
No. We just start the new ones because these people mightn't be still tuned in.
Give me a chance.
If you're tuning back in, make sure you get your questions in as fast as possible.
If you want to retype your questions. Says,
Ellie Lama. Tom Miller, what does that mean?
I don't know.
I don't want to say it out loud over a live stream unless there's another incident, you know. Like that time I summoned the demon.
Jeez, that was terrible. ILN HOJ says, Fitz, how does the pants fit for you? He wears extra large.
Extra large is perfect for me.
Meant for the waist size. Pretty good.
It means, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
So that was a great grasp of the English language.
Yeah.
Balroeg said a new batch of Republic of Kazakhstan shorts would be dope. Greetings from Germany. Shorts is something that I don't know. Is that a sniper on the roof up there?
That might be where the gunshot came from.
On the roof.
We have some sizing questions. So Tony D says pants Rekka for 6 foot tall, 32-inch waist. I'd say you're probably a large. 32-inch waist. Yeah, it should be around the large. Someone else asking what height his fits. I'm just over 6'1" and I'm around 95 to 100 kilos.
Yeah, okay, let me see. Break Strength said, should I set a minimum amount of sleep benchmark before letting myself train each day, giving myself an extra recovery day? If I sleep 5 hours, or should I still train despite pro recovery? So I wouldn't be aggressively using benchmarks like that, but you definitely need to be aware of what's happening each day. If it's an anomaly and you have a huge day, then probably leave it off. You know, if you've got a max out there and you normally get 8.5 hours sleep before you train with a heavy session, and then all of a sudden one night you got 4 hours sleep, then it's probably best that you leave it alone for a night. But, you know, if it's something where you're routinely getting low amounts of sleep, then you definitely need to look at your quality of sleep. Sometimes what does happen sometimes, right, is lifters will see a max out coming up in the program, and then they'll just focus in on that max out, and they'll be so concerned about it, they'll give themselves bad sleep. And then instead of saying, oh, do you know what? Or something will come up and they will have a bad night's sleep, or they'll have a very stressful day. And then instead of saying, damn it, no, I should wait another day here, I can take an extra rest day, it's no big deal, it's a very heavy session, you know, I've been training for 3 months for this. They'll just do the rest day and then be like, oh, I didn't get great sleep last night, so the rest day didn't go great, or the max day didn't go great.
Yeah.
They're like, maybe a better option would have been not training that day and going to sleep that night, then doing the max out day the day after.
I will say people are their own worst enemies with max out days or big heavy training sessions. They'll paint themselves into the corner, you know. I think on the thing of like benchmarks of sleep, I think it has to be more of a long-term thing. And it's more like if you only get 5.5 hours sleep for 3 weeks in a row, then you go from 5 days a week to 4 days a week, or 4 days a week to 3 days a week. It can't really be a kind of blow by blow or day by day thing, because there's big fluctuations. It also depends on what phase of training you're in. If you're in a phase of training where you're like just doing a prep phase, doing some bodybuilding and hypertrophy work, yeah, recovery is important, but it's not like you're blasting everything as hard as you possibly can. So just be conscious of the phase of training you're in as well, you know. Evan Lee says, there's a couple of peers at my gym with big squats and deadlifts but terrible bench. Is Gareth training your gym?
I don't have a big deadlift.
They have big arms, but all have super wide bench grip. I don't know why they don't just narrow their grip.
I have an answer for this.
Because they don't have good coaches like you, Evan Lee.
Yeah.
Who tell you to do bench pressing with a narrower grip and make your bench press better.
I think people massively underestimate how tactical the bench press actually is. There's just a lot of key points to the bench press that make a huge amount of difference to that. The biggest one, the vast majority of people turn the bench press into essentially an arm-only exercise with some pecs involved. So it's literally... Weightlifters are big culprits of this, but it doesn't really matter for them that much. But people who are trying to get a big bench, literally just old school bodybuilding style, where it's just like kind of touch and go, just barely tip the top of their chest, and then it's all arms, no leg drive, no body drive. You see the best bench pressers, if you look at people like Shane Hunt, John Hack, any number of great bench pressers, when they bring the barbell down, they're getting as tight as possible at the bottom. They're letting it sink into them a little bit. Not to get a bounce out of the thing, but they're looking for this maximum tightness as they press off into the bench. So they're really turning into a whole body movement, which makes me sick.
How much does it hurt you to
Maybe
say that?
sick saying that loud, but it is very true. So they're looking for maximum tightness. They're really stacking everything here at the bottom as much as possible, and then they're driving off aggressively. You don't see people just bringing the bench down, turning it over, touch and go. Like they're hitting the key points of a good bench press, you know. Like back in the day, Elite FTS, Westside used to talk about the biggest thing to have a huge bench was having a bigger back and a stronger back. And there's a lot of truth to that, you know. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of missing the point of what a bigger bench or technique you need for a bigger bench is. So I think that's a big one.
Oh, there's some drama later on in the chat, Griff. Don't scroll down. Don't ruin it for yourself.
Drama?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Like the tier lifters. Yeah.
Sorry, I'll just know.
Don't ruin it for yourself.
We'll get to the questions.
Okay. Then Evan says it's funny because within weeks of benching again, I was out benching them and they're pissed. Evan, you're also a talented athlete, though.
Yeah,
so
you can use that as
don't pick on the shit people. Dr. Demographic says, how much volume should I do to achieve hypertrophy? I only have 2 sessions a week. You do all of it. If you're only doing hypertrophy work twice a week, you have to do a lot of it and go pretty hard at it. That's actually one of the bigger issues with weightlifters. If they're just doing hypertrophy work or accessory work kind of like 1 or 2 days a week, like a lot of people will have an accessory day and they'll do some other accessories on one of their other days of training. And besides that, they'll just stick to their kind of strength work. It really isn't a good mix, or it's not a good way to run it. You're far better off running it where you do your accessory work as an add-on to every single session. Because the volume, or the main driver of all hypertrophy work, is volume, you know, in terms of the training itself.
You know, you could gun for the alternative modality people talk about as like closer to failure. You know, people like John Matthews used to talk about that. Who's a bodybuilder? Jay Cutler? No, he's not the English one. What was the English guy's name? The Shadow. Remember you see that? They changed very close to failure.
Yeah. I would be going to failure if you were only going twice a week.
UltraKill2D2 on Instagram says, I want to be an absolute animal in the hammer throw. Any strength training tips?
Massive back squats to like 5 inches above parallel.
Well, both big back squats to as deep as you can get high bar, and then very heavy ones for 3 to 5 reps above parallel. So like that quarter squat.
Like then, barely tapping a box for 300 kilos for 5 sets of 3.
Pretty heavy behind the neck push press is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And power cleans would be your big winners.
Like heaving hang power cleans.
MSA9 says, is the bench program just for bench or whole upper body program? It's just for bench, but there is assistance work related to bench pressing in the program. which would include a lot of upper body work. But if you're looking for like a upper body program, don't entirely pin your hopes on that. Dorian Yates, I'll check at it.
Dorian Yates. Arden E says, who makes the Ollie games, Lou or she? I'd say she.
Yeah. Although it's not that Lou couldn't do it.
No.
It's just that Lou, I think she's just better
If
anyway.
Lou is in any other country.
Yeah.
Tom Waring. Jesus, that's it. Tom Waring.
Where are you? You're on Top Chat, Dara.
Oh, sorry.
You
Power clean, stroke, snatch for you don't really need it. This is coming from 2 weightlifting coaches.
Hang on.
Has it frozen on yours? I think we're good. And this is coming from 2 weightlifting coaches, So power cleans, hang power cleans from blocks. All those are great. Really good for speed work, for that power output. But snatch probably just isn't it. The weights won't be high enough. Speed mightn't be high enough. Too technical, and you're just not getting a good training effect from it.
What height do you fit? 6'1"?
6'1.5", 187 centimeters.
Palson says, did you know that the Mountain is doing a powerlifting? We did. We meant to include it in this week's news show.
Yeah, and we didn't.
But we didn't.
Because we're idiots. We don't write things down.
Wagyu, the worst kind of beef you can get. I've abandoned squats and conventional deadlifts for the trap bar for 8 weeks to give my back a breather and still make MMA training. Thoughts? Yeah, that's not a bad. So the priority number uno for any kind of S&C work for other sport is that your sport is given priority unless you're in a dedicated off season and a period where you need to do more strength training, and then you do the vice versa. But if you are in a scenario where MMA training is your priority, then I wouldn't do anything that really jeopardizes that in a meaningful way. So sometimes you'll have strength training sessions or conditioning sessions where you might be a little bit more tired for your MMA training, and that's okay if it's pretty far from a fight, for example. But if priority number one is not hurting yourself or not negatively affecting your sport-specific training sessions in a meaningful manner. So there's a certain degree that you can accept, a small amount, but a lot of times you hear like VJ athletes like, oh, I trained legs yesterday. And like, you shouldn't be so tired from your leg training that you can't do a BJJ session. You should be able to do your leg session the morning of and do BJJ in the evening and not feel huge repercussions unless you're very new to training. So I don't think that's a bad idea. I wouldn't use the trap bar as a long-term movement or a main driver of your movement for MMA, but it's not an issue if it's hurting your back, for example, or if other kind of training is causing issues in that regard.
Pablo says he just bought a shirt. Thanks for great content, guys. Keep going. Thanks very much, Pablo.
Thank you, Pablo.
We deeply appreciate it. Tony D says TYTY, which I take it for thank you.
I think it's thank you.
Connor Smith says maybe a boo with my sizing. If you do have questions on sizings, guys, pop them down here. Cameron Vickers says, what size t-shirts are both of you wearing? I wear a large. Garth, do you wear a large as well?
I'm wearing large, but
this is a medium because this is the sample medium t-shirt we got. It's tight on me, but
they're not tighter fitting. But if you like a larger size t-shirt, you can size up, I always wear large, and this is a large for reference. So I'll just show you. It's an Instagram questions. So like this fits really well. But I personally like a larger t-shirt sometimes. So I'd go XL. So either same size or size up if you really want to. But true to size seems to be very effective.
And that's true to European sizing, just so everyone is clear.
Mickey Dawson says, goals is to get stronger across deadlift, squat, and bench. Do you have programs for that?
Sure do.
Currently in winter season for CrossFit. So, Mickey Dawson, you could just run the powerlifting program. It is 4 days a week, so you will have to sacrifice a little bit of CrossFit training in terms of maybe reduce it to 2 sessions. But the squat, bench, and deadlift are all included in the powerlifting program. Isaac said, can't wait to train the new gear. Thanks, Isaac. Maggie said, Fitz talked in a video about GPP being the base of the pyramid necessary for success in a weightlifting program. How do you know if your GPP is dialed in enough for your weightlifting to succeed?
There's a few ways you know that. The first thing is I look at where I start my weightlifting programming. So most of the time our weightlifters would start their squats at like 5 sets of 8 or something along those lines. if you're in good enough condition at the end of your GPP block to do 5 sets of 8 at 55 to 60% of 1RM, then you're in pretty good shape, you know. The other thing you could look at is some sort of actual true aerobic marker. So you might look at 4 500 meter repeats with 90 seconds in between at a 1:45 minute per 500 meter pace or something along those lines. It really depends where you're at and what level of weightlifting you're looking to get to. The main thing you should be looking for is a measure that's repeatable for you from off season to off season or GPP block to GPP block. So for weightlifters, rowing actually works quite well because it's super simple for them. They hop on an erg. Most CrossFit gyms in the world will have a Concept 2 rowing erg, and you can just use that. It's really simple. Even if you just did one 500 meter test, you'd have a very good idea for how much fitter you were at the start of your GPP block versus at the end of your GPP block. Tends to work a small bit better than using some sort of kind of work capacity piece, which might be multiple sets of squats at a certain percentage. I like an actual true aerobic value. I think it works quite well.
Sorry, I actually can't help myself. I just need to skip. Who said the tier were the worst lifting shoe?
Down the bottom. That's what I was talking
Where
about.
is it? It's gone from the bottom now, though.
So N Casino Jack says, not sure if you'll review the tier L1 shoe, but I received mine this week and they're the worst shoe I've ever tried. The forefoot is so flexible, it twists under you. It feels like a barefoot shoe back to ROM 2s. Oh no.
Damn.
Oh no.
That's genuinely very disappointing to hear. I haven't got a pair. As I said, multiple times, the owner of Tier, I was put in contact with him last year, and he had a good chat with him for a while. And I just kind of described to him what I thought would be best for a lifting shoe or what we like best in shoes. I didn't like the white toe box thing. For me, wasn't something I was too much concerned about. I'm still very interested to see what the Tier are like, to be honest. I'm very interested to see if you could keep your foot from sliding around but have a wider toe box. Might it be better? It's hard to imagine it wouldn't be better if you could get it right. Are the pants out of stock? No.
The pants are out of stock in everything except medium and XXL.
Okay.
We've lost where we are now.
Someone
Oscar Blood says...
That's what Jesus said on the cross. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oscar Blood says, lads, where's your Catholic education? It's what Jesus says on the cross. Most of my education was Oscuelga, so...
We were Protestant,
if Tom Miller had quoted it, Oscuelga, I probably would have gotten it. Oscar Blood then says, for someone who routinely gets 8 hours of sleep and at the very worst 7, is ZMA worth it? Yes. Yeah, so ZMA doesn't account for or make up for sleep you lose out on. ZMA just basically supplements zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B6 into your diet. So it definitely does alter the quality of your sleep, but it will never make up for sleep you lose out on. So it's not like if I got 6 hours of sleep one night, I should take ZMA and it'll make up for it. If anything, ZMA will make you probably more tired when you wake up after 6 hours. But yeah, I think it will be worth it. You'll figure it out after a week or two if you like taking ZMA. I like take it. A load of people I coach and a lot of my family still take it. So yeah.
Seek and Sleep is still in the works as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Andrew, or Lectivir Trolls, I wonder if I'll ever say that right. How do you guys actively train, become more elastic, and to use less concentric strength for certain movements? Hope you saw me bringing up the typos. I did not.
What typos?
In relation to elastic strength, so that's you're looking at like pliability of muscles and tendons, ligaments, and related tissue in your fascia. So having full range of motion. So an ability to easily move through full range of motion in a controlled range of motion or controlled mobility. So not like passive stretching, but an ability to actually control your joints through their full range of motion is the first place you'd start. So using things like, whatever form of mobility will get you that scenario and however much you need to do and work in areas you need to do it. Remaining hydrated is one of the big things. Some of the fascia people talk about. So the gentleman who wrote like Anatomy Trains, who's a little bit of a quack, unfortunately.
Oh, is he?
No, not a little bit. He was right about some stuff, but he guessed some other things.
Okay.
But he actually talks about hydration being very important in relation to elasticity of fascia and related organic tissue. So mobility and flexibility is a huge thing there. And it's kind of one of my grievances with like the angry physios you talk about, like stretching not being useful because they're just doing like squats and deadlifts and stuff, and it doesn't need that useful. But when you need to go do something athletic, like throwing, you do need to be very elastic and pliable. Like your ability to contract and relax and then contract again is a hugely important part of most athletic or all athletic endeavors. And so having freely moving tissue is very important to that. So having good mobility for a broad sweeping term is the first place you'd start with that. Then, of course, after that, then you need to be looking at, plyometrics, stretch shortening, reflex, and a variety of other things involved in that. So any number of things like that. So probably full depth, maybe counter movement jumps. If it's for upper body for throwing, you could look into upper body plyometrics, but I would be hesitant. What are you laughing at?
Nothing. I'll tell you after.
Okay. So full body upper body plyometrics may be an option there for throwing, but I would be certainly cautious for that. And then using loads in your strength training that move quite fast is quite important. So selectively picking loads and training in your squatting that's not massively grinding. If you're benching, not hugely grinding your bench press would probably be another good option in that regard.
I've actually used upper body plows with rugby players a fair bit, and to quite a good effect. I think the main thing with plows is just that you'd have your strength base, and Andrew, obviously you do. He said he's sitting at 112.5 kilos at the moment.
Jesus.
Are
you laughing, RG Emmets?
Yeah. I can't find where we are. Can you?
They're always watching.
You can't get away with anything there.
Bafroman 101 said, would the bench program work for incline, and would that require modification? It certainly would work for incline. It wasn't written with that in mind, but there's no real reason it shouldn't work for that. Just use maybe a little bit of a conservative max for your incline max. So if you can do 100, just use something like 90 or 90, maybe 95, for example. Just taper a little bit off of it. But I don't see any reason it should make any difference.
Andrew G says, how do you train in the jerk if the platform you train on is not long enough for your split?
Squat jerk.
Don't squat jerk. It really comes down to just trying to mold your surroundings as best you can to what you need. Whether that's, we had somebody in a feedback stream not long ago who had a hole cut in their wall for where their back foot goes in their jerk. Whether you need to extend out your platform and make room, maybe you need to just change where you train full stop. Now, granted, some people's situations are a lot less elastic than others, and you don't have that kind of that grace of doing it. But it really is like athletes are phenomenally good at making things work if they need to make them work, and it really does come down to like how badly do you want to make it work. If your platform needs to be another like 1.5 feet long, and it just takes us 3 sheets of plywood cut in half, you could save up for 3 months. Buy a sheet of plywood every month for 3 months and extend it. If you actually do not have room, like in some people's basements, which is the only place they can lift, their ceiling is too low. In that case, I've one one-to-one athlete who has that, and we do 2 sessions a week where he doesn't go overhead with the clean and jerk, and 2 sessions a week where he does, and it works quite well, So some smart programming where you might need to go to another gym for a day or two of training, where you do your split jerks themselves, and then you do all the other work in a different session. Ian Young says, wait, are you saying I should have waited until the day after my wedding to do the RTA week 4, day 2, 3x8 day?
I'm not sure. Should I wait until the day after my wedding? I probably wouldn't do it the day of your wedding because that'd be a very stressful day.
I certainly wouldn't do it the day after either.
Well, it depends if you're teetotal or if you drink,
Even still, though, you're probably up late.
I wouldn't do it the day of.
You've had a lot of excitement.
That'd be a stressful day if you did it the day of. Hanshin O says, I know you said in the past that you're mostly against 2-a-days, but would it be okay to split certain days so I'm short on time with squats and accessories in the morning and weightlifting PM in the evening, or weightlifting in the evening? So the answer to this, like in theory, is like, yeah, that's okay. In reality, though, it's not okay. To be honest, I would say you just need to adjust the training schedule to either just fit the weightlifting in and make it a priority. Because what will really happen in this scenario, is you'll end up, first of all, we don't really like twice a days anyway, because there's a certain degree of extra volume that always comes with doing double sessions in a day, because you have to do some warm-up sets. You're in the gym. Psychologically, it's loading. You are not interfering with a hormonal cascade in the morning, but you are certainly beginning one or changing it. You're using certain energy levels. You're changing your body's priority. You're affecting things like your NEAT or your non-exercise activity thermogenesis for the evening. So there's a lot of different things that's kind of going on when you train in the morning. And they're very funny. We're literally just listening to Khabib Nurmagomedov talk about him training twice a day. And he said the biggest thing for him was that you can't do this if you're working. He literally said, I trained till 11 and I'd sleep for 3 hours. And I did this for my whole life. And then I trained again in the afternoon. And he said, you just can't do this if you're working. It just doesn't work like that. And he said he knows fighters who do it and it doesn't work. And I'll be honest, Shin, it just doesn't really work in reality for amateur weightlifters. It's just, you just need that time in the middle to rest and recuperate, because you have a process that happens after training, an inflammatory process, and a process that begins recovery, and there's protein synthesis and there's anabolic signaling, and there's different things kind of happening there that do interfere with recovery. So then you're going to be always negatively affecting your weightlifting in the evening. So you're not really going to be getting the best quality weightlifting sessions in the evening. Now, training in the morning is very useful, and there's a lot of studies showing that morning training is super potentiating for evening training. Weight training in the morning, even for conditioning or weightlifting, in the evening is potentiated by morning training when it's done for strength, when strength is done in the morning. But in reality, what happens is you just get too much fatigue accumulating over time. People generally do too much in the morning. It's a psychological stress to be trying to fit your stuff in. If you're in a scenario where you're short on time, then you just have to accept that you can train less, but you still need to get better quality training, or do your weightlifting in the morning when you have more time. But I would just advise you against doing it, because it just doesn't really work out, Henshin. You just have to accept for better quality over a longer period of time. Nicholas Carras said, any recommended reading resources for programming plyometrics, or more specifically programs prepared to start doing plyometric stuff? Yeah, so Vershansky has a book. You can only get a hard copy. Fuck, I can't remember what it's called. But if you go to Vershansky's, he's like the godfather of plyometrics. He has quite an interesting book on plyometric training.
If you're in the UK or Ireland as well, the UKSCA have a sprinting and plyometrics workshop that's very good.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's actually good.
Yeah. Well, it's where every professional S&C coach would train, like.
Didn't say much.
Well, it is like, if you were looking to start coaching it, that's where I would go to go and do that. Unless you're like involved in sprinting. If you'd like a sprinting background, definitely that would be a good place to go and talk to your sprint coach, your local sprint club, if they're a good coach. But the UKSCA workshop, you can just do those weekends as standalone weekends. You don't have to do their exams and stuff, and it would be a good place to start.
Hans is just asking, have we seen Lee Sang? No, but we're going to do a reaction to some of the highlights from the Korean Nationals, because they uploaded them all. So we actually might do that this evening. So there's some good lifts on. It's a very interesting competition, some big lifts done compared to the Asians.
Jeremy says, stay over the bar or push the floor away. What's the better cue to focus on?
Both of those.
If one of those isn't happening, something's going wrong.
Yeah.
That's like saying don't bend your arms or don't bend your back. Which one's better?
No, it's like don't bend your arms or don't use your upper body. You're too slow.
Yeah.
Use both of them. Use both for sure.
I
just want to talk about the tier 1.
Yeah,
I would like to. I'd like to get a hold of them and use them, But at the same time, I'm afraid if they're bad, then I don't want to have to put up a bad review. But we do honest reviews, when we do our reviews, and there are a few, but we do them,
Yeah.
Our Sika summaries. So, I'm not under pressure to go get them at the moment. I haven't.
Maybe it's your fault they're so bad. Maybe you were telling them all the bad things to do with their shoes.
I said, make Ramaleo shoes, basically.
And put your logo on them.
Yeah, I was like, look, you need like this lightest, most stable shoes you can get, And the subject of the white toe box, I can't remember if it came up that much, but I'd be interested to see if they took anything I said on board.
Doesn't sound like it.
I remember asking, like, are you trying to make shoes for weightlifters? Or are you trying to, because you're a swimwear company.
Yeah.
So you're trying to make shoes for or shoes for swimmers to do strength training in, because you want to make sure.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're being specific with your product when it comes to that, you know.
Yeah.
And
what did they say?
It was weightlifting shoes, what they wanted to
Okay.
make. Hampton Morris, the one of the USA lifters said
Yeah.
like junior world records, you know.
Yeah.
So those shoes are as good as doping.
Oh my god.
Can you edit that out? This is a lie.
Oh my god. Can you just delete that from your head?
I'm only joking. Anyone could set world records without doping.
Anyone. Because it's not like the Chinese athletes who they'd all would expect to be doping aren't hitting those numbers.
Well, I'd certainly expect
wait,
those.
it's a world record, so they're not hitting
no,
those numbers.
No, it's just new because things are reset.
Oh yeah.
We've said too much. Move on.
Okay, just so everybody knows, there's single digits of pants left in medium. They're out of stock in large, out of stock in extra large. There's some left in XL. If you want to get pants, I'd be getting them in the next 30 minutes. Okay, Paul Paulson says, I never do bench press anymore because I'm basically scared of it. Almost 40 and I've seen too many torn pecs.
I wouldn't do benching if you didn't want to do it.
Sorry, yeah, you definitely don't need to do benching. It's not like you have to do benching. If you're afraid of it, don't bother doing it.
Like you have to squat, like.
You have to squat.
You have to squat.
If you're an athlete, you have to squat.
No, but if you're strength training, you have to be squatting. Like, what else would you be doing?
Yeah, well, you could safety bar squat.
No.
You could hex bar deadlift. If you don't care about sports, you could do.
You can do whatever you want. Like.
Anything, you know. But
if you want to actually do strength training, obviously you're squatting.
You know, one thing I will say, I've never seen somebody who's natural tear their pec.
I don't think I have either. Who says Paul's natural?
Sorry, yeah, I know. Sorry, Paul. I'd hate to make an assumption about you, but like Joe, those bench pec tears, I've yet to see it.
I actually don't think I have either. Now that you mention that.
So if you're blasting, then be careful out there.
Actually, I don't think I've ever seen. Yeah.
Kind of thick says Sika bodybuilding when soon. We just need to.
Well,
there's
weightlifting 2.0 is coming up first for programs.
Yeah. So we can fill out. Okay, Dorian Yates.
Eugene's his first live stream in ages. He's
nice.
He's an RTA question. Me and my wife both running it. Laurie said, "Cool merch. Thanks, Laurie. Wife is understandably much weaker than me, so running sub 100 kilo version. Why do we have the same accessories, especially one-legged stuff? It's like RP10 for her, but walk in the park for me. Because they're kind of like the minimum standard of like accessory work that we'd have people doing across most stuff, you know. Also, the accessory work can be scaled as well, but all that accessory work is something that most people need to do. It's stuff that people who are a lot stronger have neglected to do, and it's stuff beginners would benefit hugely from. But if it's too challenging, if it's way too challenging, you can just scale it back a little bit. But just doing that same accessory work is very, very important, you know. So it's kind of like for a well-trained athlete who's kind of well-rounded, that stuff shouldn't be super challenging, you know. And for beginners, especially for people, say in the under 100 kilo version, there's only so much squatting that you can push aggressively. Yeah. And so the assistance work is hugely valuable in bringing up that kind of that general training capacity without overkilling the specificity of the 100 kilos.
The other thing I will say is with all accessory work, like all accessory work has to be tweaked in some way. Like accessory work is there as an accessory to the main pieces, and it's clear on all the programs that as you're doing your accessories, you have to regulate the loading of those. Also, it would be impossible for us to gather all of the information to get like the necessary numbers for all 16 pieces of accessory exercises as to your 1RM and your proficiency with them, because a lot of people have never even done them before, you know. So that's why they kind of have to have some level of auto regulation. It's going to be very difficult for us to derive out firstly to gather all that information, but also to derive out your level of how quickly you're going to be able to progress with them.
Johnny Brown said, got his order in. Don't forget to like the stream. Thanks, Johnny. KCB5150 said, have you sent Ramno a text lately? Fell off the face of the earth after talking shit about Belarus for the 1000th time on Instagram. Do you know what? From among many reasons, but one of them being that my Instagram is so full of fucking people that I don't follow, because Instagram just whatever,
it just shovels it in there.
The latest updates over the last few months have been a nightmare. I don't see anyone I follow anymore, barely. Like I see more people I don't follow on my Instagram than I do follow, so I miss a load of stuff, and I don't even. I don't know. I hope he's all right. That's the second time someone's asked me if I talked to Victor Getz. Was last week
Yeah.
or this week. So he settled some stuff, and I think he's moved to Kazakhstan. He seems to be still active though, but I hope Aramno's is okay as well.
Paddy Gilmore says hot take Seeking News is way better than any weightlifting house news show. No longer the only weightlifting news show in the world. Keep up the work.
Thanks
very much.
No comments.
We can't make any comment on that. How much does it cost for a powerlifting program? $34.99. Let's go to the website. Powerlifting programs are up there. All the programs are up there. You can go and check and see how much they cost. $34.99 for most of these, the block programs, and then the standalone or longer programs or single exercise programs are all different prices. So the website is linked in the description of this video, and you can go and have a look. James M says, hello, Sikistan. I was wondering, are your thoughts on implementing weekly heavy singles into your powerlifting training? My thoughts on these are probably one of the worst ideas you can have in powerlifting training. In terms of, if I wanted someone to not make progress, that would be the first thing I'd do. Just get them to do heavy singles every week. It's a bad idea. In powerlifting, you need to accumulate volume over a long enough period of time. You need to spend a lot of time accumulating volume. And the unfortunate thing in powerlifting is, like, I'd consider powerlifting to be like a dingy dungeon where you have one tiny little window and you get to look out that window twice a year. And for the rest of the year, you have to be down in the dungeon, you know. Weightlifting is a bit different. You tend to go heavier more frequently because just the skill itself is different. Weightlifting, you get to look out the window 6 times a year. In powerlifting, that you barely ever get to look out that window, and it's just for a fleeting second and it's gone. So yeah, definitely don't do heavy singles every week in your powerlifting training. It's a terrible idea.
It's I think it falls into two things in relation to like RPE and powerlifting training. So I think it's kind of a way of training gratuitously, like, so it's a way of training the way you want to train and way you should be training to be the best possible lifter you can be, you know. I think it's kind of a way of, percentages are hard because they prescribe what you're supposed to be doing or what you need to be doing to be getting better. And then you've put yourself in a scenario where you give yourself a little option. You know, you can be like, no, I don't feel great today, but it's more productive if I do a little bit easier training. And that might be true sometimes, but a lot of the time you should be training where you need to be training, you know. And I don't think RP allows that fully. Alongside with the heavy single training is a way of just seeing where you're at. You know, a lot of times people do that. People make it out that like you're somehow going to forget how to do a single squat. Like you're accidentally going to walk out your heavy squats and then do a double by accident on the competition platform. Like, it's get practice in. What practice are you getting in, you know?
I think just not being patient.
The only reasonable argument for the use of like heavy singles and then drop sets is if you're doing them is kind of potentiation. And so you would get some minor boost in performance potentially, but that's generally for power training, vertical jumps or speed or sprint training, and not necessarily the use of heavy singles and the drop sets, because generally what that does is just fatigues you. Just do your drop sets. Like if you can't do your drop sets without doing a heavy single first, you just fucked up somewhere in your ability to do your training, or you've just got some weird psychological issue with your ability to do them. Like it doesn't. I see no real need. You don't need to do singles until you need to do singles. When you need to do them, then they're very important to practice those heavier singles and accumulate the load for maybe 1 to 3 weeks out from your max, depending on what you're doing. But I think it's, to be honest, it's just a really gratuitous way of training. It's just people just wanting to train, so they're staying in touch with their max and then doing things where it's like, oh, I know, just seeing how I feel and seeing where things are at, you know. That's my opinion of it. I think the RPE has gotten more popular because people want to train easier, to be honest with you. That's my actual honest thought. I feel that deep inside.
I think RPE has gotten there because people are less patient.
Yeah.
And people are coaching themselves more, and like everyone wants everything right now. Like everyone wants the marshmallow right now. It's just incredibly difficult to hold yourself off. And I think we're seeing it more frequently because more people are kind of training out on their own now and not in clubs or not with coaches or not in structures, you know. Okay, Josh says training plan's going to help me hit 230 at the end of this RTA. I just counted up. I've squatted 230 at the end of 4 RTA cycles. So it's a great cycle for hitting 230.
I hit 230 when I was 20. When I was 20. 20? Was I 21 or 20? I think I was 20. I hit 230 when I was 20 after no RTA cycles. So I just learned what periodization was. I'd literally just learned what proper programming was. And I went from like 170 to 230 in 6 months. Paulie was like, this is how you do like swap progressions.
Yeah.
My brain was like,
No.
in slow motion, imagine my brain just going,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my God.
Staring at your massive legs, being like,
Oh my
this
God.
is what they're for.
Yeah, it was just so I can remember just writing out on a sheet of paper in a lecture. I remember it was actually in a pharmaceutical.
I used to love writing out the sets and reps.
Just write out sets reps I'm gonna hit. And just like 1 or 2 sets a week. I wasn't trying to squat every day.
Yeah.
It was really like, this is what I'm gonna hit, this is what I'm gonna hit. And I remember like to hit 200 for 3 the first time I squat 200 or 200 for a double was my goal. The first time I squat 200.
Yeah.
I did it for triple in the end. And I was like, I need 190 for 3x3. So like what makes sense, you know? And it was like boom, 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 boom. And it was just like seeing it all happen and work. My brain was like, oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
I
would have hit way more if I'd used RP back then though.
No, you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
That's where we're saying you wouldn't.
Because I would have just trained at RP 10 all the time.
Oh my God. You wouldn't be here. You'd have given up weightlifting because you'd be too sad. I'm absolutely losing completely where we are. Okay. Wegu says, thanks for this fantastic. We'll make sure to pick up a shirt. Just make sure for everybody, t-shirts and all merch has gone off the website on Tuesday morning. So the printing starts Tuesday morning. Make sure all your orders are in before that because you won't be able to order after that. So Monday night is kind of the cutoff for most people. Tuesday morning, first thing Irish time, they gone. Okay, George Frey or Gray Frog. Why did I think that says George Frey? Gray Frog says, we'll finish RTA squat in a couple of weeks. After finishing, do I just take a deload week and then hop on the next program and send a video to you guys for PDF? Or should I run the maintenance? So the first thing is definitely take 3 or 4 days off, take a bit of a break, give yourself a chance to recover from the maximal effort at the end, then run the maintenance phase. You can send us an email at any point and we'll send you out the new program with the updated 1RM. But you just get straight into running the maintenance phase. Definitely give the maintenance phase the full 8 weeks and then go and hit that RTA with your new updated 1RM after that.
Do you know what we should do sometime is like,
go on,
a watch party of a competition as a live stream, like an older, like maybe
a watch party.
Yeah.
Oh, like
we just tell everyone,
not a live competition.
No, we just tell everyone we're going watching a competition.
Yes.
And then they do a live stream.
We could actually have it playing in the bottom corner.
That'd be illegal.
Would it?
Josh said he's 28-inch quads. How will the large pair of pants fit me? 29 inches should be good for me. There's a lot of material in the pants, so they're quite heavy material because we want the resistance of the barbell. So go by the inseam length because the stretch in the legs, there's loads of room in the legs to stretch laterally. So get your length right, and then the legs will fit perfectly because there's a lot of room because they're elasticated. There's a lot of material. We're using about, I think it's like 60 or 70 more grams per pair of pants than like the average pair of like casual wear pants you would see. So it's more resistant to the barbell scraping off it. It's more resistant to training, so you get a lot more life out of them because there's more material per pair of pants, you know. Do the pants help accumulate the bulge from Kieran Horsky?
Look,
that's your fault. Like that's all your fault.
Look, I just trained in a certain like area of photography, and I can't not, you know,
from only fits like
the only fits again.
Slim is asking for an injury question. I think we don't do the injury questions or try not to do them unless it's like around injury.
Andrew says, were small pants an option? I did not see them when ordering. 5'9", 70 kilos. Did I mess up? Small pants are all gone. So that might be why you didn't see them. Or no, sorry, there was no smalls.
There was?
No, remember they were already ordered.
Oh, they're already gone?
Yeah.
And the extra smalls?
So all the smalls are out of stock.
Are they all gone? Before you got them?
Yeah.
Damn. Sorry, Andrew.
But Andrew, medium will probably be, if you're 70 kilos and 5'9", medium will be good. Definitely good.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Sam AI says, just ordered the pants in Dublin. Would be nice to finally have bottoms that don't rip after 3 months of squatting. They are highly durable pants. Okay. Okay. J. Don Ireland says, grab some pants, keep up the great work or great content, lads. Thanks very much. You're like a less aesthetically pleasing version of Barbell Medicine guys in a good way.
Is that a
Who are they?
compliment? Is that a shit
It's not,
sandwich?
he said in a good way.
We've been gaslit. I've heard, you know what? I know I've heard a lot about Barbell Medicine, but I've never actually watched any of their videos.
I don't know who they are at all.
I don't no, I don't. I've never watched any of their videos. I don't even know what they look like. I just heard about them, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. Are they doctors? Are they Barbell Medicine because they're doctors? Is that what this is about? Is that who they are?
Are these my hands?
Are they two doctors on TRT?
Wait, let's see. Let's wait until the YouTube ad plays through.
I genuinely have never watched a Barbell Medicine video. These are not the Mind Pump guys. Are they different?
Oh, they're definitely TRT.
Hey, you can't be showing exhalation on like that.
You just said it.
I don't know. They're more aesthetically pleasing than we are.
Sorry, look at how handsome we are.
You see how beside
Maybe-
my ass? They don't have a big ass.
You see how thick his legs are.
I think they squat the parallel.
Oh, look at the state of his head. Right. Before
Uh,
we keep talking crap.
large solo, yes.
Slimiev says 174 centimeters tall with a 76-inch inseam was XL a smart choice. Just go by the inseams. So go by what you normally wear, what normal pant size you wear, and by the inseams. And you should be good to go. Every single live stream, I get a phone call.
That's right. Oh, great. Sometimes you get two. Good day from Australia from Eton. We need more XL buyers. Don't make me buy another pair. My quads grow. See, the thing is, the XL are like kind of at the top end of that bell curve, you know? Or they're getting the other side, like, what's 5'8", 5'9", like the average height? So, you know,
Okay.
So, you're freaks.
The jazz, if anyone can hear light jazz music playing in the background, we're based in Cork, and Cork International Jazz Festival is massive.
It's a gimmick.
And it's
The gimmick.
a gimmick.
The gimmick.
One of the
No
biggest,
one name. I bet you those people watching could name any jazz musicians.
but it's a massive weekend in
Name a
Cork.
jazz musician
Seal.
that's currently active.
He's got more soul. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to the jazz weekend.
Yeah.
I'm just displaying the size of the. And now there's a parade going past our window.
Edvin said, "Should I shave my head?" And the answer is always yes.
Yes,
If you-
Evan, you'll love it. See, Gerf thinks the jazz isn't a big weekend, but Gerf has just gone to the window to watch the jazz parade.
I need to learn to play the banjo.
Did you buy a banjo?
No, they're very expensive.
Just buy it,
You've
like.
seen it? No, but the last time I bought a cheap ukulele, it was shite.
And you never played it. Oh yeah,
because we
I went down a
couldn't.
tune.
Because they kept going out of tune.
You can't buy shit musical instruments
You actually can't.
because no matter how good you get at playing them, it always sounds shite.
Yeah, but what would be a reasonable banjo cost though?
€500.
There's too many things I need to buy for my gun that cost less than that. So there's no way I can justify €500 on a banjo. How much
Yeah.
will getting obliterated to smooth jazz is again affects my max curl?
Well,
Only if you meet the love of your life and you're suddenly like infatuated and you might lift more. But then she breaks your heart and you'd lift even more and more.
or if there's talks of an after party and you're just like, yeah, just keep going, you know. Elective Throws says, as well as the YouTube video referencing one from 6 months ago, and the podcast spelled incorrectly in subtest. Oh, podcast was spelled incorrectly.
Where?
Maybe on SoundCloud. New podcast went up today as well for everyone watching.
No sweat. He usually call me Ian. Oh, he said no sweat, Ian. You're a funny guy, Ian. He did week 2 RTA day during my wedding day.
What?
Ludicrous.
Who would do that?
I'll probably change my wedding day. Tom Miller said, "Do you think the socialite polarization of fitness via unhealthiness is more extreme now than any other point in human history?"
I read this, right?
Yeah,
But
the societal, not socialite, societal.
I
think it is.
well, I don't know about societal in terms of health. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you think about like famine times in Ireland, and you would have had like
Yeah, but there wasn't fucking
Massively
Instagram
wealthy.
influencers.
I know.
During
Definitely
the,
in terms of like physical fitness, but in terms of health, maybe not. In terms of physical fitness, definitely, it's never been so polarized. It's a probing question. Tom Miller, we need to bring you on board as one of the script writers for Seeker Psychology.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you?
Definitely, there's never been so many unfit human beings in the world.
Absolutely, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So if you go like a couple of thousand years ago, there's more likely. There had to have been. Of course, the more people were the average person alive was more physically robust. Your brains are larger because you have to remember more of your local environment.
Okay.
So you have to remember much more of that.
Yes.
So definitely more physically robust. Like if you look at like Neanderthal, bones and joints are routinely broken and repaired, and the density of those. Some of my ancestors. I assume you've none, being over 5'5".
Were Neanderthals really short?
Yeah, they're pretty short. I think not pretty sharp, but shorter.
Okay.
But could also take down animals.
I just won't give my DNA to one of those.
Just throwing spears at things. But yeah, I think it probably is the worst time if you think about it.
Yeah.
So they reckon about 100 million Americans are either diabetic or pre-diabetic.
What?
Yeah, probably more. Yeah.
Just less than a third of their population. Jesus, that is scary.
Yeah, but sure, look at what can you do? Jazz music is great. Now I feel like there's...
Yeah, now I feel like the music's been turned off. Yeah, and you hate jazz.
I don't hate jazz.
You just said you hated jazz.
No. I said name an active jazz musician.
Yeah, by a jazz hater.
Zach Divilibis said 77 kilos currently. If I wanted to get up to 90 kilos, what kind of time frame plan should I have to not just be a fat blob?
2 years.
Yeah.
2 years minimum.
Yeah, 77 to 90. And it's not even just that 13 kilos is a lot. It's that going from the 77 kilo bracket to the 90 kilo bracket. So, the further into those 100 kilo you get and look at leanness, like the less percentage of people are able to be that heavy with a certain body fat percentage, So it's not the same as going from the 60s to 80s or whatever, It's like getting the 90 to 77 is a big change in weight class, So definitely give yourself a long time. And you'll have to accept some blob. Yeah. Large number of extremely fit humans versus large number of extremely unhealthy humans. Yeah, I think so, because now most people are dying from diseases of excess food, which has never happened before.
Max Pierre 101 says, Garth, how do you deal with the depressions caused by the barbell in your platform?
I'm going to get a crumb rubber based rubber, aka maybe platform or playground rubber. So I'm just going to go to a park and steal it from them. Or
those children don't need rubber.
Buy it. They're not going to be able to stop me.
Do you remember?
There's no way those.
Do you remember when we were kids in the playgrounds? They used to have just bark mulch.
No, I remember when the rubber came in as a teenager, as a late teenager, from drinking the park.
For us, they used to just have bark mulch.
I did bark mulch.
Yeah.
You mean concrete? There was no bark mulch in the parks I was going to.
There was bark mulch on the floor.
You're displaying your classism here now again. Bark mulch. All right, Hogwarts.
Oh my God.
No, there was cold hard concrete.
Or else gravel.
Cold hard gravel and concrete.
Who thought that would be a good idea?
We tarmac sometimes.
Oh, we wouldn't have tarmac then.
I know that about a bark mulch picked from cedarwood, redwood from California, was it?
The finest pine wood.
Yeah. No, so I'm going to get a different style of rubber. So crumb-based rubbers. Again, like I say, those kids can't stop me taking their playground rubber.
They couldn't stop you even if they wanted to.
I'm going to come in with just a little standing blade probably, or maybe a crowbar, and just start levering up.
One of these, like.
And then if they just come over, just...
Oh.
Yeah. Backhanding everywhere, so I don't hurt my hands.
Patrick Healy said it was nice to hear the discussion about fitting workouts around work. Bongo, would you rate Reebok Lifter PR2s as a first squat shoe purchase?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are PR2s?
Oh, PR2. Sorry, I just automatically...
I thought you were talking about Legacy. The Reebok Legacies are very good. I don't know the PR2s, though.
I think I know what the PR2s are. But if the Reebok PR2s... Reebok... Prime 2 shoes, Reebok. No, I don't know.
Banglo, if you were watching this and you could just update us what the PR2s are, you can't post a link.
Oh, I know what they are. Yeah, I remember these. I never actually got my hands on them, but if you tried to get Legacies, they'd be better. I'd go for Legacy 2s because these are showing for €90. I don't want your cookies. I would. No, they look too. No, get Legacy 2s. You should get them for close to €90. And that's still reasonable for a weightlifting shoe. Any updates on the Fix Your Jerk program? Not for a while.
That's number 3 on the list.
Yeah.
If you want big legs, you have to squat. You're dead right. Cherries for Life says, I do everything but bench. You're like Garth. AL says, secret bodybuilding is greater than strong curves. I don't know what strong curves is.
The Aussie powerlifter got a pec there. Wasn't natural then, I suppose.
Yeah.
What size do I wear? On the pants, I'm large.
Isn't it?
Large in the pants and large in the t-shirts.
Paddy Gilmore says pec detachment on a close grip 5x5 at 140, ironically, and clean. 5x5 at 140 and clean. Paddy, who are you?
Who are you fooling? Fooling.
No, I was hugely dehydrated at the time.
Not only a pec tear, but a pec detachment.
Pec detachment, yeah.
Fucking hell. No, obviously natural lifters have torn their pecs, but
no, we were just saying we don't know who had.
And we still don't, obviously.
Paddy Gilmore's just out here gaslighting people.
You can add some people to favorites and sort by favorites. Didn't know that. It's very annoying at the moment.
I really like it because I just keep getting the same posts over and over again.
Do you know what?
I actually really enjoy that. I don't want to see what people are doing.
Toshiki's original Instagram got deleted. All those great videos are gone forever. Yeah, they're gone forever.
Ryo Gen 2 says, I have a herniated disc. I've herniated my disc deadlifting. Does lots of your students successfully recover from them? I've definitely had a few athletes who've had herniated discs and they came back to full training. But it's a lot of rehab. You need a lot of work. It's not something you should just ignore.
Respect to the work Seb does, man. So I think it's in relation to the new show. No, Seb, they do a lot of good stuff. They're the only person doing the Asians. I wonder if they'll do the Worlds this year. I'm trying to get back into your program after a disc injury. How long should I prep to test my 1RM before I go into your weightlifting program? So you should be fully signed off by your medical professionals, whoever you're seeing. So if it's a physio or a doctor, you should be in a position where you're all clear to return to the state of play and whatever they tell you. So if you're saying to your physio, let them know what you plan on doing and then use their best advice. We couldn't give you a given time frame, on when you should return to the weightlifting. But how long should I prep to test my 1RM? So in terms of testing your 1RM, if you're ready to return to weightlifting and get the green light, probably somewhere over the course of 8 weeks, you could build up to a reflective single of probably what your abilities are in this kind of macro time frame. So if you, for example, run the return to weightlifting program for 4 weeks and then did 4 weeks of kind of a increasing kind of weightlifting block, it would give you a good idea of where you're at currently, I would think.
What time do you mean it?
4. Peking says you can do suggested posts on Instagram for 30 days if you close out a suggested post.
Oh.
Connor said he panicked about a second pair of pants because I don't know my scene.
I'm after losing completely where we are now, and there's so many comments.
Brian said he got the pants and Stand Strong t-shirts and enough to make it a fraud detection alert. Oh, they are doctors. Barber Medicine is great content. We're only joshing about the...
Yeah, we're just messing.
Just messing.
Okay, I found Paddy Gilmore talking about his back there, so I'm just behind you.
Liam said, what kind of program exercise selection rep sets would you recommend to maintain strength lifting 1 day per week while focusing on BJJ for a while? So just moderate sets and reps, moderate exercise selection, number of exercise selection. So whatever it is you kind of need to do, probably something in the region of deadlifting, rows, and some core work, and then some unilateral work probably. But obviously couldn't give you an entire program on how to maintain your strength training because you still need to be progressing from week to week as well. The disc program.
Ryo Gen 2 says, what program would you recommend for a trainee who just suffered a disc hernia and is about to get back at your program? So if you've been cleared by your doctor to return to exercise, we have a return to training program. It's up on the website. It will get you back in generally good shape to get back to training. Then following that, you could run the return to weightlifting program. But just the return to training program would be the best thing for you. But you have to be fully sure you're ready to return to training. Patrick Keeley says, Metalhead here, what's jazz? It's like metal except slowed down. Metal with trumpets and it played slowly. Max Pierre says, Garth, how do you deal? Oh, we just got that. Carey says, after how long learning weightlifting, can I feel like I've given it the good college try and accept I need to do powerlifting instead due to crappy old body material? 6 months ? I definitely give it 2 years. You'll know if you're going to be good or not within 6 months to a year, but things can happen in 2 years that won't happen in 1 year. For the most obvious statement that you could ever make in your entire life. I'd give it 2 years.
Is bigger than one.
It's almost like you have twice the amount of time as if you tried for 1 year. But no, I would certainly give it 2 years. If it's something you really want to do, you know, if you're not really into it and 6 months in, you're like, meh, then don't. Just stop training. Don't.
No, if you don't know from the first session that you don't know weightlifting, don't. You don't even need to do the first session.
Yeah.
If you just look at weightlifting and you love it, or if you don't love it, if you look at it and you're just like, oh, that's kind of cool, then don't even bother. It's not even worth your time.
When I was 14 and somebody handed me a barbell, I was just like, this is it. This is exactly what I want.
Flipper hand.
Just one of these hands.
Yeah, curling a barbell with one hand.
No, you have to have the graw for it because it's too depressing and too non-enjoyable a sport to not really love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Colts 89 says, got the XLs. Are you releasing more V2 pants? No, that's not on the horizon now at all at the moment.
Well, not this side of this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be waiting.
Probably be looking at we'll probably change a few more things in this again, maybe. So it'll be like February, I would say, before the next.
Yeah.
Realistically, are we on October now? November, December.
Yeah.
No, I don't think
I would.
So.
Yeah, I would say middle of next year probably as the most realistic time frame.
No, not middle, but early next year.
Eugene Poon said Ian was a question asker.
All right, we're at the hour mark.
Do you want to pick one or two?
Ale said 6 years and still don't like weightlifting. Just watching emotion. Ale, just stop. Just
stop. I don't know why people keep going. I see people at weightlifting competitions now, and I've seen them there for years, and they're doing the same thing, going back, another comeback, and there's the same numbers that they've hit all. Just leave it go. There's loads of other sports.
One of the most, I really respected this athlete, right? So I was coaching someone. They were a very good athlete. They had more potential than most when they were doing lifting. And they were just like, you know what? Thanks for coaching. And he made progress as well. It wasn't like he was making progress. He was making progress. He was adding numbers. And he just says he didn't like weightlifting. He found it too much in terms of like the technicality. Just made him too anxious. Just didn't like it. And he stopped. And he was like, thanks for coaching.
Respect.
I'm so much respect for that person. God bless him.
Because when you're coaching people, you'll see them falling out of love with it. You know?
Yeah.
Where they're not really into it. Like, weightlifting is a difficult sport to stick with. Tom Miller says there's a lot of scope for us to expand out into the hunting and outdoor lifestyle aspect of our channel. Definitely a hunger for it. And then Max Pierre says, I'd be stoked for it too. And then Jen says, I'm very sure.
Yeah, a lot of people did DM us and email us after the podcast to talk about the stuff, but
maybe you could have a second channel.
There's a weird, maybe.
The Sika lads.
There's a weird, I'm not saying maybe putting yourselves in jeopardy.
I think a second channel would be the best way of us running that. You know?
Yeah, I would just. It's a very small country. Is what I'd say. So
you just don't want people knowing where you're going. Is the biggest issue. We could do loads of stuff, but the camera angles would have to be perfect. and you'd have to have like.
I actually think it'd be great. It'd be so good, but
Okay,
I don't know
XL pants left for anyone who's looking to get pants.
How many XL are left? 23.
20, yeah.
I just don't know we're in the right country.
I think we could definitely do it.
It would be great stuff. So it would just be, yeah. I'd like to do it too, is the thing, but I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Also, then we'd stop making these videos because we'd just be hunting all the time. It'd be 6 months of the year hunting.
Nicholas said, do you find it strange that most athletes returning to athletic endeavors almost always opt to start lifting at the gym instead of playing more traditional sports, especially if they played in their teens? No, I don't think it's that odd, because a lot of sports just aren't accessible for adults anymore, because like you can't show up to under 16s athletic trials as a 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't do things like that. You can't go to, like, that's probably why BJJ is getting so popular, is because it's very easy to start, not easy to start at any age, but it's very accessible because you can just go in and do it. But you can't go back and play basketball with people. There's no accessibility for that, where the gym is incredibly accessible. So it makes sense, I think, when you think about it.
I think a lot of people get burned as well by the sports they play. Like, they'll play GA and end up hating GA, and I'm never going back playing that, you know.
Tom said, I live in Ireland, I've done a lot of things that are beyond PR salvation. It's not even the PR stuff. It's other people in the community that would concern me, is my thing.
Yeah.
We'll see. In the hunting community.
There's definitely some of the places we go that we could video some stuff. And it'd be grand. Nobody'd ever know.
Tap it out Morse code there where you're talking about. Yeah, I am. Robert said, what if you identify a 16-year-old as a 40-year-old?
That's the other thing you can do. If you played under 16 football, you can't go back and play under 16 football again.
That's true.
Also, I think adults find it really hard to be coached by people in those. And I don't mean a lot of people watching this will be used to being coached because you're like in training and in lifting. But I mean, the people who play soccer and the people who play rugby and stuff, it's different when you're a 16-year-old and someone goes and tells you to do 1,500-meter sprints, or they tell everyone to go and run 4 laps of the pitch or whatever. And they're just like, okay, I'm going to go and do it. I definitely found when I was playing rugby, a lot of the older lads are more likely to be lippy, you know. And granted, some of the times they might be right, but that's not what you need if you need a team, you know. You need people who are going to listen to the leader and follow on from that. So I think that's another reason why team sports, I think people are just a bit too opinionated in their elderly years.
Jerry, shall I say, not going to lie, don't really understand the issue with filming outside. Am I being an idiot? No, it's not filming outside.
It's filming outside with high-powered rifles.
Yeah. It's just a really small country, see.
Yeah.
And not talking about you might shoot people by accident, but it's...
No, it's literally just the community of people who hunt in Ireland is very small.
Yes.
You might necessarily want everyone knowing where you're going. If you were very successful with where you're going, then other people might want to go there too.
And there's definitely ways around it, but there's a lot to think about before we'd ever do it, you know. And I would like to do it, but I don't. We just have to sit down and think about it.
We won't just slap one up there
like we did with the podcast. And 5 years later, here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. Okay. As to reiterate again, if you want t-shirts, they have to be ordered before Tuesday morning, or else they're gone. Tom Miller says the big men around town with their YouTubes.
No, that's what they'd be saying, though.
He says he can hear them talking.
No, genuinely.
That is exactly what people
imagine the Facebook groups. Do you see these two lads making YouTube videos? Who do they think they are? Do you see the shot he missed?
Oh my God. Okay. If there's someone trying to post a link in the group, you can't post a link in YouTube comments. Okay, so if you want a t-shirt, you have to order the t-shirts before Tuesday morning, or if you want to order pants, you have to order before Tuesday morning, even though they're basically all gone now. There's just a few of the XL stock left up there. Thank you so much to everyone who bought stuff. We appreciate every one of you massively.
Jay Don Ireland said there are souls in all communities, but there's definitely a higher proportion of the Irish hunting community.
Yeah, it's like the highest proportion.
I'd say, yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, guys. We'll talk to you. I hope you have a great weekend. If you're out jazzing in Cork, just make sure you tell everyone that Gerf hates jazz. And hopefully I won't see you. 'Cause
That's not even true, but go ahead and tell them.
I'm trying to hide from alcohol this weekend. Alcohol found me last weekend. You